Recording. Okay.
Awesome.
We're live, we're recording, we're going, we're good.
Yay!
It'll probably take a moment for people to see the messages that we're live, but
Right?
that's why we're recording.
I'm going on right now. What's it called? I was going to say something about Twitch. Oh, I didn't know that with Amazon Prime you get Twitch Prime.
Right?
I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome.
I couldn't figure out why my thing went red for a sec. Turns out my computer decided to disconnect from the internet for some reason, so hopefully that'll go green again soon.
Okay, perfect.
I hate it when the bitrate goes red because I'm like, there's no reason for that to happen. I have everything else closed. Yeah, no, don't save that. It's fine. Okay, no, I don't care. Just close. Okay, whatever. Don't care. Freaking programs that I don't need. Okay, just closing every program I don't absolutely positively need just to help the bitrate that much more, just to be on the safe side.
I know, right? When you're like, I always have to sign out of everything for like me to do the simplest tasks.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I have other stuffs pulled up just in case I need to reference it real quick. So I'm like, I'd much rather just close everything else because it also cleans stuff up too.
Awesome.
I mean, Twitch itself says the bitrate's fine, so I'm not sure why my OBS is freaking out. But whatever. I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm watching us. It looks fine.
Thanks for the host, Terry. We out here. I see you, Terry.
Wait, why can't I see the chat? Where's the chat? Okay, here we go. Okay.
Hashtag gang gang.
Terry,
I know, you're funny. Right? So The Godfather, what'd you think?
I really liked it. I thought
movie,
it was
right?
really good. And I think I told you before, I'm a huge Sofia Coppola fan, but I had never seen anything by her father. Mm-hmm. So I was really excited to watch it. And obviously she gets her talent from him. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was really beautifully, it was so, I mean, it was beautifully filmed and like it was so reality. Like I feel like that's how it really was, and it also gave me a lot of Sopranos vibes. So definitely the show wouldn't have been possible without a film like that. And it said it also like inspired Goodfellas too, which I still have to watch. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and that came out like later. Like The Godfather opened the doors for all these ridiculously awesome crime-based movies that are extremely similar, not just the Italian Mob, which is amazing.
It's like so good. I want to read the book. I think the book would be really interesting because I guess it was based off of a novel.
What?
And then like they only bought it for like $80,000. Like, can you imagine the rights to?
Anywho, getting back to and I can, after I strip the audio, I can paste these two things together using my video editor. So.
Oh, perfect. Excellent.
We won't lose anything.
Awesome. So I thought the the scene with the horse's head, the prize stallion in the Hollywood dude's bed was really good. It was like really shocking. And it also kind of reminded me a little bit of Chrissy because Chrissy wants to be, in Hollywood. And so that's kind of almost borrowed from The Godfather in The Sopranos,
I watched so much like behind the scenes stuff and everything for The Godfather when you said you were going to watch it. I'm like, oh my God, we're totally going to be talking about this. And I wanted to refresh all my memory of all the stuff. And one of the things was, it was genuine reaction. He didn't know that was going to be there, and it was real.
Right?
He was like...
Wait, the horse's head was real?
Yeah.
Oh my god, what the heck?
I
That's so
don't remember where
stuck.
they got it from, but they got it from like some type of special like butcher shop of some kind.
Who eats horses?
I don't know.
Oh, probably like the glue factory. That's so,
Probably, but I think it was still a thing when that was being filmed.
yeah, definitely. Oh
Mr.
god.
Ed, no! Right, Terry? It's just.
I know, Mr. Ed. Oh,
Oh.
but
Okay, now we're all sad. That was the one thing I was worried about because I'm like, there's a dead horse in that one too. Oh no, she was so upset about Pie Oh My. How is she going to react to yet another horse in this one you actually see?
I know. But I thought it was really I really liked it a lot. And I was like, oh, it was made in the 70s. I'm sure it's great, but like, I'm probably not going to be that, like, you know how sometimes older movies are just a little bit corny and stuff?
Right, it's a specific style to the time, and you're like, is it really going to be what I am into? Because I am not from that time, so I don't get
Yeah.
it.
And I love like historical fiction and stuff like that, but like I like historical fiction that's like made today. I usually don't like older films as much, but I really enjoyed it. I didn't know how long it was going to be. But it was so good, and
While it was in theaters, they actually had to have intermissions halfway through the movie when they were showing it.
I know, like, I did read that, and I think it's so funny that
I knew that because my grandpa saw it when it was in theaters, and he's like, I remember the intermission and blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, that's so cool. And he's like, and he remembered when he first got it, it had to come on more than one VHS tape because it couldn't all fit on one. And he's like, there's a whole, and so it would be like you go through a part of the movie, it says intermission, put in and then that was your cue to put in the next tape.
Yeah, that's like, I wish they still made movies like that. I miss like old movie theaters. But yeah, no, I really liked it. I really, really enjoyed it.
We still have some old-fashioned movie theaters, however, that still function similarly to the way they have a few decades ago. So if ever you get out here, we're totally going to them.
Oh, for sure. That would be so awesome. We have like one here, but it's called Jane Pickens, but they don't have intermissions, but it's like all still old fashioned, and it's got all the old fashioned seats and like concession stands and everything. But I loved Vito, and I loved the last name Corleone.
Right?
I thought that was great. I read one thing, because you know how we were talking about how the mob like loved The Sopranos, and they would like talk about it in the FBI.
A lot of the modern aspects of the mob came from what they saw in The Godfather. There was like one way it was, Godfather comes out and they adapt some of it. Like, oh, that's a good idea, actually. Let's make that a real thing.
And then like, so I read one thing, one of the Patriarcha, I can tell you the name in a second. One of the Patriarcha members, like, he changed the way, I guess he was known to have like bad grammar and stuff. And after he saw the movie, Anthony Fiato, after seeing the film, Patriarcha crime family members Polly Incito and Nicky Gizzo altered their speech patterns to imitate that of Vito Corleone. And Gizzo was known to swear frequently and use poor grammar, but after seeing the movie, he began to improve his speech and philosophize more, which is so Tony Soprano, like they made him sound like, I read some things that said that it kind of reflected badly on the Italians because people didn't want to associate it with the mob, but he like made the mob members just seem so much more sophisticated and like more intelligent.
Yeah. And it was really interesting, it's kind of a conglomerate of the real Italian mobsters of that era it's set in. Because it's really interesting. I was like doing some research on like the Godfather timeline in its universe, and it's kind of a combination of both. It's like a combination of the Bonanno, Colombo, and the Genovese families all together. It's like the timing's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the it's set like according to like the Godfather universe, like the commission was set up shortly before, like it was known as like the pacification. It was meant to get the families organized and like calm everything down in preparation since World War II was going to start. But in real life, it was already set up at that point.
Oh, okay.
So
That
they
makes
tweaked
sense.
it a little bit, you know, to probably better fit the story. But
Yeah.
it's interesting, like the stuff that actually happening. Also interesting, even though all 5 families that exist in the Godfather universe are all not, you know, none of them are any of the real families. It's interesting that there are, in fact, some real life mobsters do exist in
Right.
the Godfather universe. Like Al Capone exists, and then I think it was Maranzano that also exists.
Yes, I think that's right. And one of the actors, I forget what his name was. He was the one who got. I don't know if if how you pronounce it, garroted. You
Oh, the
know
guy
that?
that got strangled,
Yeah,
Luca
him.
Brasi.
Yeah, in real life, he was like, I guess he was a former wrestler and a former like mob bodyguard. So I thought that was really cool. He was
Well, yeah,
huge.
the movies made in the 70s, a lot of the Italians, especially the ones working in Hollywood, had connections to the mobs,
Yeah, right.
whether directly or just like a friend of a friend. Or like there's like a kind of a slight disconnection. Point is, they had either strong or loose a connection in some way for the
Yeah.
most part, because the mob kind of went, you know what, Italians, we're getting sick of like being treated like crap. We're gonna like help them out.
Right. It's like I think it's so interesting that they were so discriminated against for so long, and like nowadays it's just like, not that way at all. But I'm
Yeah,
trying to think.
there's always those groups, and it goes in, it switches, like because Irish, then
Yeah.
Italians, then somebody else, and then it was somebody else, and it just goes.
Yep. Someone's always got to take their turn, I guess.
Right? It
Which
just seems like they can't really give up the whole. We gotta have somebody we pick on. It's like why?
right? We have to have a scapegoat somewhere.
Right.
But yeah. So I really loved it, and
And I think we should do the go through like our favorite characters and like favorite moments thing, like we did with The Sopranos, because that was a lot of fun.
that was a lot of fun. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
I want to start off by saying I love them all. I thought they were all brilliantly cast,
Oh
and it's
yes,
like extremely difficult to pick favorites.
of course it is.
But I definitely really like Vito Corleone.
Yeah.
Fantastically played by Marlon Brando.
Oh, I know, and I love Marlon Brando as like a human being as well.
Uh-huh.
I think he's great. So I'd love to see. I think this was actually the first time I've seen him in a film. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and also it's just he was originally like wasn't even thought of for the role.
Hmm.
It was like somebody else that they wanted, but it fell through, and Marlon Brando ended up still having it, which was great because
Yes.
he's perfect for the role. And it's funny, in his audition, in his reading audition, whatever you want to call it, he had the cotton balls in his mouth to get him to sound like that. But then when filming actually started, he actually had a dentist make a mouthpiece for him to put in.
Oh, okay.
Filming. So it wasn't cotton balls the whole time. It started that way, hence the jokes that you see in other media nowadays that reference to it, because that's how he initially got it. And then they went, yeah, that's a great way to portray the character. And so he went and got a special mouthpiece to wear throughout the entirety of filming.
Can I just tell a quick story about that? So when I was like in 6th grade, we were trying to find someone to remodel our kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So this one guy came and he was really annoying, and like my parents didn't like him, and he like super overstayed his welcome. But then, like, he was, like, trying to do all these impressions, and he's like, "I can do the Godfather. Get me a paper towel." So I'm, like, 12 years old, sitting in the kitchen with my parents, watching this, like, 50-year-old man putting in freaking paper towels into his mouth so he could imitate Marlon Brando in The Godfather, and I just have never forgot that in my life. It was very interesting to watch.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
That is hilarious.
It's like, why?
But yeah, I think that's definitely one of them. Are we doing 5 again? Because I can easily do 5. I can easily film that. I definitely like Sonny. Very well played, even though James Caan is not Italian.
Oh, he isn't?
No, he's Irish.
Oh, okay.
But played it beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely got into the role very well. And, like, easily, like, even though, like, you could know that going in, you still, like, it was easy enough to practice suspension of, like, reality that he isn't actually Italian, because he played it really well.
Yes.
And got into it, and, like, the way he, like, carried himself, costume, makeup design was all perfect, that you can fool you.
I agree. I thought he did really, really well. I liked him a lot.
He was also just an entertaining character, because he was the most explosive of the characters.
For sure. That's probably why he got, But
it was actually just some of the stuff that isn't actually covered in either film is that nobody approved of Carlo or him marrying Connie.
Yeah.
And which is why he wasn't given, like, otherwise, if he was respected by Connie's brothers and father, he would have had a more significant role in the family. But the fact that he was given a menial part let him know they don't respect him or they don't like him. And so he, as an act of revenge, went to one of their enemies to set up the kill. Just to be like,
yeah, but
this
like, what did he expect? He abused her.
Right?
It's
like, I'm sorry, and you're shocked that your now brother-in-law hates you and wants to beat you because you're beating his little sister?
Like, damn. Jesus. Men are so entitled. Especially him.
Very
but yeah.
much so. But it was really, and it was like 50-something little of those things they put all over him for that scene. And
yeah.
Apparently it was inspired by, I forget which one of the Bonnie and Clyde movies, and how it ended with, like, the shooting that resulted in their deaths, because that actually happened in real life. But apparently one of them did it very big like that, which is how Sonny's death ended up. Real big, lots of guns, lots of bullet wounds in him and everything.
Yeah. Really violent.
Yeah.
And I
Swiss
feel like
cheese by the end of it.
Right? I feel like that was very, like, unprecedented for the time as well. I mean, I know they had, like, some slasher films in the 70s, but, like, as far as, like, serious movies where you can, like, where the violence is just, like, it's more meaningful, you know what I mean? So I think it was kind of...
But it was for the shock, because it was a main character, and they're like, he has to go out big, because the videos I was watching of, I still need to send you, of the ex-mob boss from the Italian mob, from the Colombo family. Well, one of the scenes, because there's these videos where he reacts to notable scenes from various mob movies, and that's one of the scenes he reacted to. He's like, we would never actually kill anybody like that, because it's like, it's too out in public, it's too much, it's just too, because, they're criminals, they don't want to get caught, they don't want to leave anything for any cops or anybody to find, but, he's like, I get it's a very, very iconic scene at this point, but we would never actually do that in real life, like, not even back then.
Right? And, like, in cinema, like, especially American cinema, they never like to kill, everything had to be a happy ending, So killing off like a main character that people enjoyed was like pretty, a gutsy move. But I think that was a really great scene as far as like what they were going for and to show like the real violence and everything. Right. But I also love the sleeping with the fishes reference.
Right.
I didn't realize, I had always heard it, but I didn't realize it had come from The Godfather specifically.
And that was one of the things that The Godfather created. That wasn't a thing until it showed up in The Godfather, and then that became a message regularly used in the real mob.
Right?
It was like, oh, that's a good idea. I mean, because we do sometimes get rid of them by sinking them in like rivers or oceans or whatnot, so now we can let people know by giving them fish.
Sleeping with the fishes.
Actually, so speaking of the ending, huh?
I was gonna say, did you do 2 or 3 so far?
I did 2.
2, okay. Go ahead. Go to the end.
Vito Corleone, his eldest, Sonny. I think I would also have to say Michael.
Yes. Al Pacino.
Right?
Yeah. But what were you gonna say about the end of the movie?
I was just gonna say, speaking of the end of the movie, is perfect, segue into the next character I want to talk about that I really enjoy was Michael, because if you think about it, it's not necessarily a happy ending, because he was meant to be out of it, have nothing to do with it, and instead it was very much just because Sonny was dead, and Fredo was considered like soft in the head due to childhood illness, so he was not considered bright enough or strong enough to be able to handle it. And then Tom Hagen was not even one of the, like, he was informally adopted, so he's not Sicilian. He can't, be considered for that role either.
Yeah.
So all that was left was Michael, unless they wanted to go outside their family, and then Michael just stepped up and went, "Yep, I'm the boss now." And especially with that last scene, the door closing and him just being, officially the boss, and you just go, this could have been so different. But then Sollozzo had to come and try to kill Vito, and then
right. I was like,
if the dang Turk hadn't showed up.
I know, right? Hold on, let me look at my notes real quick. When they killed his girl, they killed the woman in the car bomb that he was married to in Italy. I think that's probably just when he was just like, fuck it, I'll do it, And I know he came back and married Kay, but I think like he really loved the other woman a little bit more.
Right.
So I think that it's probably one of the
main reasons. It was like a rebound.
Yeah, it was like, he was like, she's okay, and I'm probably not going to fall madly in love again, and, I might as well just carry on the tradition.
It's like, well, I need a woman at my side, so I guess I'll just, like, go with her. It's like,
I know, and I feel like all the mobsters do that. Like, they marry the woman that's good on paper, but they don't marry the woman that they really love.
Like, and they have the good, they marry a woman that would make a good wife, and then have a bunch of women on the side.
I know, it's insane. I wouldn't be able to keep track of it.
Right.
I'd be calling everybody by the wrong name.
And that happens.
I know, right?
It's like, that is not my name. Who the hell is that?
That's probably why they're like, oh, babe. That's why I'm always wary. Like, if a guy calls me babe right away, I'm like, okay, there's 10 other girls here.
Right. It's like...
He just
Terry, another woman? Another one? It's like, yeah. Hey, Tina, Claire. Wait, no. Sarah, hey, you.
Right? It's like, oops.
That's right, Terry. That's probably why there's so many, like, pet names.
Right.
In these movies. Like, they just keep calling every single woman a pet name instead of that they call every single woman that they know, so they don't screw that up.
Right. Exactly. It's insane. Oh man.
I think it started with the attempt on his father's life that he wanted to get back. And I think it's
Yeah.
funny that they made fun of him for it because they're just like, oh, what, you want to kill him? It's, oh man, you go college boy. What you want to? Why do you want to kill the guy? And then I'm just like, you do realize he was in the army,
Right?
and they go, well, it's not like the army where you kill him from far away. I'm like, that's not always the case.
I know,
Have
right?
you are you familiar with how war works? It's not always from far away. There are lots of instances where you have to have hand-to-hand combat even. It's just the far away isn't strictly how it's done in the army.
Right? And like they're soldiers. They're literally trained to kill.
Exactly. So I'm like, they're all like, hi, good college boy, you what, blah, blah, you can't handle this. I'm like, he was in war. It's worse than anything any of you have been through.
Right?
He
And it
can
was
handle
World
this
War
probably
II.
better than you can.
Right?
A
And World War
Marine, no
II was
less.
Ugh,
Ugh.
they're
Which is why I found that scene just funny to watch. I'm like, you guys don't even know.
right?
But of course, Sonny thinks that people who are, who go into the army are like saps. It's like your country ain't your blood, so meh, that kind of stuff. But I think it started with that, and he was like, okay, I got revenge on my father. I'm just gonna go hide for a bit. Then I'm gonna come back and just go about my life as usual. But then I guess since it followed him there, am I losing you? Okay, no, you're still there. Okay.
But it was fine. But yeah, it followed him there.
Yeah, it just seemed to have followed him there because like one of his bodyguards, betrayed him and then killed her.
Yep.
And then he's like, I guess there is no getting away from this.
Literally, that's what sucks. That's what really sucks about the mob.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, okay, I'm done.
He's like, I just wanted to avenge my father like any good son. That's all I wanted.
Right.
But no, they just went, nope, no, you did something, so now you're now you're involved.
We're gonna blow up your car with your wife in it. No big deal. I know it was meant for him, but still.
Right.
That was fucked up. And like it was kind of like the opposite effect they wanted because he came back and he became the Don,
Mm-hmm.
They just left him alone and he would have left and that like really would have fallen apart a little bit, But he came back and made it stronger. It was like really counterproductive. It was dumb.
Right.
But it's fine. All right, who's number 4?
Let's see. I'm connected. I don't know why Skype always has to freak out like halfway through what we're doing.
Oh, I know.
It just decides, hey, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. It's like, you have one job.
Right? Is Diane Keaton Italian? I don't think she is.
I don't think so. That's what I told you. I'm just in the channel. Oh, well, we'll probably use that next time. We just went with what we knew since we kind of just had to throw this together real quick, and then we're not on for as long today. So
I have so much final stuff to do. Thank God it's not midterm. I would be so upset.
Right.
But it's fine.
Yeah, apparently there's like a new feature in Discord so we can use that, and it has a better connection that we can use the next time.
Oh, dope. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with Discord last night.
Yeah, I don't know what that was either, but this Discord sometimes has hiccups, so I think that's all that was, because it didn't last for very long.
No, not at all.
So I think next week I'll set up the Discord video chat so that we don't have to deal with Skype crapping out halfway through what we're doing.
Sounds good.
But let's see, 4. Ooh, who to pick for 4? Honestly, I think I would have to go with Tom Hagen.
Yep.
the German-Irish consigliere.
There's always one, I swear.
Right?
They've always got one Irishman.
Or it's a Jewish
Or
mobster.
Jewish.
Yeah, it's always Irishman or a Jewish mobster.
For sure.
I mean, heck, the commission, the real life one, had Murder Inc. made up entirely of Jewish hitmen because at the time, nobody thought a Jewish man would be a hitman.
Especially the Orthodox Jews, like, you would never expect that.
Exactly, which is how they were able to get away with doing hundreds of murders for the longest time before anybody realized it was them.
I didn't realize, like, how big the Jewish mob, like, and they still run stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they're almost more prominent now than the Italian mob is. Right at this instance, you know?
And I think Robert Duvall was, like, a fantastic casting for that.
And I mean, just such a wonderful actor. Yeah. I mean, everyone in this film is incredible. And
so good. But you also got the feeling that this German-Irish boy was indeed taken in. He's kind of a brother without biologically being so, but he's, like, bonded to everybody, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. I think the first time, though, I actually saw Robert Duvall in a movie before I started getting into, you know, mobster films and horror films and stuff like that was Secondhand Lions.
Oh my god, I love that movie. I always cry at that one, too. That's a great movie. One of the best, and Haley Joel Osment was the little boy.
Yeah.
Right? I loved that movie.
And then it was like Michael Caine is his last name? Was the other uncle?
Yeah. Yeah, either that or Michael Keaton.
I think it was the other guy. Anyway, the point is, like, that was, like, the first time I'd seen him, so I had only ever seen him at that point as, like, a grumpy old man.
Right? Right?
So to see him younger and in a fantastic gangster role was amazing.
I know, right? And you are right, by the way. It's Michael Caine.
Oh, okay. My memory's all right.
Yeah. Good job. But no, I mean, I've never seen him. I don't think I'd ever seen him in anything when he was young either. And that was probably, when was Secondhand Lions made? That was 2003. The Godfather was 72. So that was like a really drastic age change. It's so weird to see all these actors who I'm so used to seeing in movies now being young and in The Godfather. Like, I've always been a huge Keaton fan, but I never really saw anything with her in it when she was young.
Right. Same with James Caan. Like, I only ever seen him when he was older, and then to see him, and like, I didn't even realize it was him at first when I first saw The Godfather. And it wasn't until, like, after it ended, I went, that was him?
Wait, what was the name again?
James Caan.
Oh yeah, James Caan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I'd seen him, like, older, and I was just like, wait, that's him?
Right?
Marissa,
he's from the
here. I think that's your friend Jackie in chat now.
Oh, yay! Hi, Jackie. I can't see chat right now. Hold on.
Which is why I read it out for you.
Thank you.
I'm like, I should probably let you know she said she's here. Yay!
But, yeah, I really enjoyed him. He was really, really good.
What's also interesting, and I took it in my notes, was going back to the Michael thing. Apparently, let's see. Michael returned to New York in 1948, and it wasn't until, like, a year, like, it wasn't until, like, 50 or something. Like, 1950 or something like that, that he got back with Kay. It's like, he waited a bit. You couldn't tell by the way the movie was shot, but he waited a bit, and it's like, huh, okay.
Okay, we'll get back to it.
But yeah, I like how, the opening scene, the wedding, how, like, they didn't have to do, like, any, like, serious introduction to Tom Hagen's character. He was just kind of there doing his thing, and you just kind of just assume that he's helping out, especially when he's like, all right, I gotta go back to work, and then he goes back into the room with Don Corleone, and they start talking stuffs.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Tom Hagen. But what was I going to ask you? It was something about, and so Kay Adams, that doesn't sound very Italian to me.
Kay Adams? No.
No. So
they make a point that she's not Italian. So this whole that they want her to be like basically alienated. Like she has no idea what's going on. Which is why she's asking so many questions at the wedding.
Okay.
Who's that? What's going on? Oh my God, you know this person, blah, 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 and what's happening now? And it's kind of the person you use to figure out what's going on as the outsider is why she's there.
I read something about I was reading about the patriarch or crime family, the one in Providence, and I guess, my dog's like yawning in the background. I guess, Frank Sr. told Frank Jr. that he should marry an Italian woman because she won't ever call the cops on him if he hits her in the mouth, and she'll back him. And I was just like, that's so screwed up. Like,
but that's what you see. But that's what you see happen with Connie and Carlo.
Yeah, exactly.
She just constantly says it's her fault, and it's like he hit you.
Right? It's like, no, Connie, stop being a dumb bitch. Like, slap him back.
It's not your fault.
Your brothers can, like, machine gun him. But,
I mean, the reason they would, if, if it wasn't for the Italian tradition of you don't interfere with her marriage. Like, you're not allowed to, which totally sucks, because, like, the whole time you're like, come on, help your sister out. She needs backup.
Right, and it was also, I have to remember, it was like the 1940s and 50s, so like
very, very different, very different.
But yeah,
but when they have that big fight, you're like, stop throwing those dishes on the floor and throw them at his head, please. You're missing your target.
Missing the target, dude. Just a little higher. Okay, I think you have one more.
Yeah, let's see. The last one's always toughest because, again, so many good characters and they're all so good. Oh no, who to pick? I narrowed it down to one. I think,
He's so annoying. He's fine though.
He's a good boy. He tries.
He smells dad cooking upstairs.
Oh. Let's see. I think I will go with I don't know. I'm torn between like Tessio and Clemenza because they're from back when Vito started the family.
Yes.
And so they kind of have that
old
senior
vibe.
like that's seniority in the family. You can tell that they've been through everything with Vito and have stood by him, and they're his most trusted buddies, long time kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. But like, I don't know how people can be in the mob, because I would just be so nervous all the time, like that everybody was trying to kill me. I would just be so paranoid. Even like my old school friends, like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously they were loyal, but
right.
I would be, I can't handle
God damn it.
a mob. No wonder Tony needs therapy.
Right? Well, it's also there from the time, because, again, it's back in the, like, 40s, 30s, because the family started, officially, the Corleone crime family started in 1920. Which is a time
Yes.
where getting an education and getting a really good, well-paying job was extremely limited.
Uh,
And then on top of it all, to
mhm.
be a new um,
Immigrant.
immigrant to the also made it so difficult. And so you kind of just some for a lot of them, organized crime was like the only option in order to make a living, to get food on the table and
Yeah.
provide for families. And so you just kind of it's as much
Same
of a
with today.
tragedy as it is just a bunch of criminals.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, like that's still the cycle of poverty. I mean, like kids. That's why kids join gangs now. That's the only way they can get an income. You know, it's really hard.
Like
But
in real life, equivalent is like Lucky Luciano, who dropped out at 15 from school because he had to help out his family. But you can tell by the way he got the entirety of the mafia reorganized in that time that if he was in a legitimate business, he would have thrived, but he wasn't given that opportunity. So instead, he thrived reorganizing the illegitimate version.
I know that's what I always say. There's so many, criminals who are so ingenious, and like if they had like opportunities to make that in the real world and legitimate business, they'd be like Bill Gates, you know?
Right? Or like Frank Costello would have been a fantastic politician if given
Right?
the opportunity, but no, instead he had to play them all because
Right?
he wasn't given the opportunity.
And Frank Patriarca, I was just actually reading an article, and it was entitled "Was Providence Safer When the Patriarca Family Was in Power?" And I was like, yeah, it was. But he was beloved. He could totally have run for office, and people would have elected him. Like they loved him. I mean, they elected Buddy Cianci. Why not him? Well, he died and was in prison, but um, but I mean,
There's that one little caveat, but you get
like he would if someone needed like on Thanksgiving, like if family needed a turkey, he'd get it. If like family needed presents on Christmas, he'd give it to them. Like anything anyone in that neighborhood needed, he would get to them.
Mm-hmm.
And like they take care of their own, like the mob takes care of their own, but they could be really, successful, all kinds of businesses, politics, corporate world. They just can't do things by the book for some reason. And it feels like once you're in that sort of lifestyle, even if you're trying to go straight, it's really hard to.
Mm-hmm. Very much
Just so used to. It's like, why be legit and like make half of what I can and just keep doing what I'm doing and make double.
Great. So how about you?
But
5 favorite characters you enjoyed watching in this?
Okay, so
well, we still have time.
Right? Mine are kind of very close to yours.
Okay, so which ones are similar?
Okay, well, I loved Vito.
Yes.
Marlon Brando.
He kind of comes off as like the grandfather everybody wants.
Right.
It's like,
for
can you
sure.
be my grandpa?
I love him, and he was so cool. But one that was different than yours, I really loved Diane Keaton. I thought she was kind of like her character was kind of supposed to be a little bit annoying, obviously.
Right.
But I love her as an actress, and I think she played it really, really well. And I can't wait to see her in part 2. I definitely see how that story grows, because the last scene with her just kind of like she's realizing, she come to her knowledge that her husband's like, he's in charge, and she's just like, shit.
Right, the realization he really is, and you just kind of go, oh, what is in store for her as the wife of the boss?
Literally. Like, I would be really afraid, but...
Yeah, you never know what could happen, especially when he has the highest spot, and he has the biggest target on him, so you're just like, what the heck's gonna happen?
Right? And, his father was murdered. His brother was murdered. It's only
attempted murder.
Yes. Yes, his attempted
The point is the attempt was made.
Yes. And he didn't die very shortly. I feel like that kind of contributed to his death a little bit.
Yeah,
You know,
probably. Like,
just like
granted, it's
body.
officially like natural causes,
Yeah.
but it was probably related to some sort of complication with being shot 5 times.
Yeah. I think that might have like a little impact.
Hmm.
But I really liked her, and I just think she's a really amazingly skilled
Hmm.
actress.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like I might have picked her if she were in the movie more, but they kind of like tossed her to the side for like half of the movie, and I'm like,
yeah,
Kay, where are you?
I think it's just because I love her so much. Like
Mhm.
I've seen her in lots of other things, so I really honed in on her parts. So I think that's why
I
I'm just
will say, I love her performance in part 2.
I can't wait to see it.
It is amazing. So she will easily be in my top 5. Then when we go over part 2, because oh my gosh.
And you said not to bother watching part 3.
Yeah.
I won't watch it then. But yeah, I'm really excited to see it.
Like if you talk to any like diehard Godfather
Uh,
fans, they'll be like, part 3 doesn't count.
well, that's what everyone in The Sopranos said too.
Exactly. They're
Oh.
like, what the heck even is this movie? No.
Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, but for some reason your
Okay.
image keeps freezing, which is why I want to try the Discord video chat next week.
Yeah, good idea. Well, that's what
Hopefully,
we'll do.
because hopefully it doesn't crap out as much as Skype does.
Right? I just probably so many people are using it right now.
Right, because
But
Skype is like the one of the original video chat
yeah,
stuffs, which is probably why there's probably a lot of people on it and straining it since everybody's home. So
for sure. And then I really loved gosh, what was his name? The one that's gonna really Barzini. I think that was his name. Oh
Berzini,
no, not Barzini.
I was like,
Crap,
Berzini died.
not Barzini. Hold on one second. All right, let's see here.
I can help if you can describe them too.
The one who got garroted.
Luca
What was his
Brasi.
name? Okay, I love Luca Brasi.
I might have seen this movie like way too many times.
I know he wasn't in it for very long, but I just like liked it. His
Yeah.
part. And he died really well.
That was
really
an intense scene. They shot that
That was.
fantastically.
Right? Like, whoa, so creepy. Like, I wonder like how Francis Coppola came up with this stuff. I mean, I know it was from a book, but like, why would he use a real horse's head? Like
Well,
that's
a lot of it is inspired by real life too. Like that's a lot of the notes I took, which I'd like to be able to go over a little bit too. Like some of the characters who they're inspired by. Like Vito Corleone is like a combination of. Let's see. It looked like according to the thing, it said it was information on behind the Godfather. Vito Corleone, mostly inspired by Frank Costello, because he was the gangster who was viewed as the gentleman gangster with all the politicians in his pocket, and out of all the mobsters, he was one of the few that were actually against the narcotics trade.
Yes, I did.
So even though for the most part that's a lot, like it's very much like Sonny and Tom who are all like, oh yeah, I gotta get into this, it's good money. Frank Costello was one of the few who weren't really into it, and which is why Lucky Luciano and Genovese and the other guys got into it, but he didn't really deal with that part. He just kept up with the keeping up with the politicians and cops and everybody and keeping them in check. So he just focused on that instead.
Yeah.
Let's see. He had the olive oil business that he used as a front, which is that office they were in at that one point when they had their initial meeting with Sollozzo. Inspired by real life mobster Joe Profaci, because he had that too.
That's so cool. We
That's
have an olive oil shop in Newport. I wonder if it's run by the mob.
suspicious of it now. Let's see. Corleone had a reputation as a modest and under the radar figure like Carlo Gambino.
Oh, yes.
Um, so, but yeah, he was most similar to Frank Costello. You know, the strategic. He was reasonable, known as basically like the prime minister, basically of the underworld. Known for being very wise and of course, you know, all his diplomatic skills and connections and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Let's see. Johnny Fontaine was obviously inspired by Frank Sinatra.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Johnny Fontaine was inspired by Frank Sinatra.
Oh, oh, that's awesome. I could see the parallels. Sorry, my
Right.
dog.
A wild dog has appeared. But because Frank Sinatra had some connections to the mob too, which is how he.
Oh, yeah.
Let's.
In The Sopranos, they have his picture, his mugshot up
Uh-huh.
in the offices.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
Let's see. We also have Mo Green, who was inspired by Bugsy Siegel. So going back to one of the, because you know, Mo Green's in Nevada, and Bugsy Siegel's the guy who built the first casino there, the Flamingo. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, he was a childhood buddy of Lucky Luciano, and was eventually sent out to Hollywood to establish the mob's hold there. And then Bugsy was all, "Hey, gambling's legal in Nevada. Let's get in on this." So.
Oh, I forgot that gambling like wasn't legal everywhere.
Right, exactly. Like it was only like legal in Nevada. It was one of the few places it was legal. So he's like, let's take advantage of this.
Right? That was.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, Michael Corleone was heavily inspired by Salvatore Bill Bonanno. So, and then Salvatore Tessio was inspired by one of the more notable guys, Gaspar Di Gregorio. I can't. It's one of the more complicated Italian names to say.
I feel you.
But I really love. I was able to confirm because it was one of my suspicions. So I was happy to do the research to see if it was, like real or not. Turns out, my assumptions was right. That Michael's restaurant shooting was inspired by Lucky Luciano offing Joe Mazzaria.
Oh.
Because he died extremely similar, but instead of Lucky pulling the trigger, he kind of set it up. He had a dinner with Mazzaria, then he went to the bathroom, and then in comes two hitmen and took him out.
Okay.
So it was slightly different, but very similar to the whole, we got this person who's causing issues, let's get rid of them.
Right?
By taking him to his favorite restaurant. He can have his favorite meal as his last meal, and then we'll just get rid of him.
Too bad life wasn't that simple. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Oh no, I totally get it. And Michael fleeing to Italy and finding love was inspired by both Vito Genovese and Lucky Luciano. It's like a combination of both.
I did read about Vito Genovese, so I did know that connection, but I didn't know that Lucky did the same thing too. That's awesome.
No, it's a combination of both. So he flees to Italy like Vito Genovese, found love in Italy like Lucky Luciano.
Oh, okay, I got it.
So it's a combination of the two.
There you go.
Lucky ended up in Italy because as a condition of him being released from prison, because Dewey couldn't just flat out just release him. Without running into because he was hoping to become governor of New York at the time, so he couldn't just let him go. But he promised like the U.S. Navy for Lucky Luciano helping with the war effort to let him out, and so the compromise was you will be let out, but we're deporting you to Italy. and you're not allowed to step foot in the U.S. ever again. Which is how he ended up in Italy and spending out the rest of his life and finding the woman he eventually spent the rest of his life with.
That's so nice. At least she didn't die in a car bomb.
Right, that part was just all The Godfather.
That's really interesting though, like him helping out with the war effort, because I read about Raymond Petrarca, and he I guess he was used on an attempt to assassinate Fidel Castro in the 60s. So I thought that was interesting. Like the government's going to the mobs to like help them assassinate people.
Right.
Like, oh well.
Whereas Vito Genovese, before the war, fled to Italy due to because when Lucky Luciano ended up in prison, he became acting boss. But he let the power go to his head, and he messed up, and then he had the cops on him, and so he had to go.
Yeah.
The feds, actually, but still, he had to go, so he fled to Italy after being acting boss for less than a year, and then Frank Costello stepped in instead.
Thank God.
And then Vito Genovese started a drug trade in Italy, and actually sided with the Italian dictator during World War II initially, before helping out the U.S. So we just kept going back and forth, and we got himself in all kinds of trouble.
That's too much. What a clown.
Right? Oh my gosh, come on, man.
Unfortunately, I have to get going.
Yep, I mean, we managed to fit in at least what I definitely wanted to get in before we ended, so we got at least everything. I was like, okay, if anything we get in, I want to at least get this stuff in. So that stuff we did actually get all in.
Yes.
The rest of it kind of is better to go over after you've seen the second part, because it kind of ties in, it connects the two movies, which is why I kind of like skipped those parts. Like, I think it'd be better to go over those after you've seen the second one. It kind of connects it better. So I managed to get through everything I thought we should definitely cover with you seeing just the first part.
I do too. I really liked it. So what do you want to do for next week?
Next week, definitely go over Godfather 2 if you've seen it. If not, we can continue doing the review of The Sopranos and the stuff that inspired what happened in those episodes, and our thoughts on what happened and everything too.
All right. Sounds good.
So 2 options depending on what we manage to get in before next Thursday comes around.
I'll message you on Discord, and we can decide like a little bit later on and see if I have time to watch the second one, because they're so long.
Right. I think the second one's shorter. It's like an hour shorter, I think. So.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's just the first one that was groundbreaking, and we're like a 4.5 hour long movie. Woo! Right. That's not gonna cause issues.
It's like the Gangs of New York, like forever. Like, but all right. Well, I will talk to you soon, and bye, guys. Thank you for listening and watching.
So that's also it for the stream. So bye, Ruth. See you next week. Bye, everybody. Bye. Hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be back for next podcast next week. I'll be back with a regular stream tomorrow. So I hope you all have a good day, evening, night, whatever time it happens to be for you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always so fun to do these. So we'll see you next time. Bye.
Okay. Bye.